this is Maya. So, in the previous show, I mean, it was not even a show, it was just a small introduction. But anyway, in the previous show, no, I mean, the introduction, I said, I said, well, nobody speaks perfectly, even if it's on language. Hmm, speaking perfectly one language. What is it? You know? But before starting to talk, actually, I have to state very clearly something. So, while I'm talking, I will definitely use like he, she, or him, or her, or they, it, whatever it is. It is solely, it is just for the convenience of me talking. So, it doesn't refer to any gender or any group. Okay? I have to clear about that, okay? So, about speaking perfectly one language. Hmm. So, usually when you say to somebody like, "Oh my god, like you speak perfectly," that means that he speaks very well. Speaking very well means probably he's very eloquent and a lot of vocabulary and knowledge. And then also his speech itself is very good. Like, for example, on intonation and delivery. And then also the structure of speech itself is great. And also voice, which is pretty important, right? Like his voice is understandable. So, well, basically, for speaking well, like these kind of factors are very important, much more than you think, than just knowing words, right? So yeah, this is, you know, the people speaking well. That's great. But I don't feel like that means being perfect for language. For example, let's say there is this professor of University of Mathematics, right? And obviously his speech is basically great. And then also when he speaks about mathematics, that would be awesome. But does he speak about chemistry well or literature? Maybe maybe he could, but well, generally speaking, but probably he doesn't. And then also, I'm not grouping anyone or I'm not disrespecting anybody here, but for example, does he speak like a gangster? Well, again, probably he does, I don't know, at home, but he probably does, most likely doesn't, right? And then also vice versa. So does gangster talk like the professor of university for mathematics? Well, probably he could again, but most likely he doesn't, right? So if we really think about it, because, perfection is of course something good is included. So in this case, of course, speaking well is included, but not everything. Because for me, if you say being perfect for language means that you know literally everything about the language and be able to actually convey everything. So that is completely different from speaking just well, I mean, which is absolutely amazing, by the way. That's why I feel like, and probably we feel like, speaking perfectly is almost basically impossible because if we think about that, you have to be able to speak about math, chemistry, literature, whatever, basically, the music, arts. And then also, if we start like that, what about the generation? For example, kids speak a certain style. I mean, again, I'm not grouping or I'm not judging or I'm not categorizing anything here, okay? Okay, okay. Each person is different. Okay, each person is definitely different, and there is always the exception. But if but if I start to say that, hey, everybody is different, the conversation is over. So yeah, let's not do that. Okay. So if I say about the certain group, that doesn't mean the discrimination or categorization or generalization, but it is just like, the inclination, like towards to this group or majority, or the tendency or statistic. Okay? Yeah, let's be clear about this. So anyway, for example, well, kids have a certain style of talking, and the young generation have certain style of talking. And I don't want to say old, so let's say aged people basically have the different style of talking compared to each other, right? So it's not even just the vocabularies or knowledge. And then also, speaking of knowledge, for example, if you don't know, you don't speak. Yeah, that's I mean, it's obvious, but think about it. If you don't know, you can't speak about it. It's fascinating, isn't it? For example, like, and if you don't know about the relativity of Einstein, you can't speak. And then you can probably listen to, but you don't understand. I mean, if you're not trying. So, that's why, for example, this university professor of mathematics most likely doesn't speak like a gangster, nor like a kid, nor like a, well, I don't know how old is he, but like most likely if he's like 40, let's say, he wouldn't speak like a teenager. So for me, it's already not perfect. I mean, of course, he speaks amazingly, I'm sure. So for me, the speaking perfectly one language is almost like equal to grasping the whole language itself. And plus, not just knowing, be able to use it whenever it is convenient for him. Changing the personality, changing the style. So, yeah, now you feel like it is basically almost impossible for one human being, isn't it? Maybe, maybe. Well, I'm not. Well, I mean, the AI is doing something similar to that, isn't it? Oh, yeah, that's scary. But yeah, because not about the style, you have to know everything about the language itself. And which is probably impossible for a human being because we have certain limit for the memory. So basically, in order to be perfect for the language, you have to know everything about the, oh my god, from the ancient to the future, you know from history to music, from math to chemistry, and from gangster to, I don't know, the guru. So yeah, I mean, that's quite interesting, isn't it, if you really think about that? And yeah, for us human, well, I guess it's basically impossible. I don't want to say impossible because, nothing is kind of impossible, but in this case, well, it's quite impossible, yes. But AI is probably trying to do that, right? Oh my god, like, of course, like, I even named my ChatGPT. I'm sure that a lot of you did that too. But oh my god, this AI. Yeah, but I mean, let's not talk about the AI because it's not the theme. So, let's say speaking perfectly means that grasping hold the language and be able to use it as he wants, you know, in adequate situation. And basically he knows everything about that from the ancient time to modern to the future, which is probably impossible for us human. So why did I even start to do this conversation? Oh, come on. There are so many things that are necessary but interesting, huh? So, indeed, let's put aside about this speaking perfectly because nobody does. So, now, if we really think about it, I said speaking well, right? And there are some factors for it. So, now let's talk about what is speaking well and what is being native. But I'm gonna do that to the next show, okay? So, anyway, it's really good to talk with you, even if it's virtually, and wherever you're in the world. I really wish you had a great weekend, okay? So, bye for now. Ciao, ciao.